This podcast is intended for mature audiences and could be triggering to some. Please use discretion when listening. Hello, I'm Sonali and you're listening to Dancing in the Dark. I never had a boyfriend in my life. I never kissed anyone before. Which sounds very weird in this time and age, but I didn't till I was married at the age of 26. From a very young age, I was taught that I'm not supposed to divert my mind from anything but studies, or it will bring shame to my family in the society. I need to protect my flower, if you may say so, and all the shenanigans around it. Everything a God-fearing parent would teach their kid was taught to me as to how to lead as per societal norms. And I was very grateful because I was permitted to pursue my master's degree. It did take a lot of persuasion, but I was allowed to go to a different city and get my double master's degree, something I really wanted to do then, and probably the first in the family to do so. But there was also this added burden of not spoiling my siblings' future and my family's reputation. Younger siblings will learn from me, so I always need to put my best foot forward. They need someone to look up to, so I didn't have the luxury to do those crazy stuffs, and I was made well aware of the same, as one wrong step at my end will destroy their future as well, and everything else would come at stake. The money saved for my marriage was used for my education, and it did come with a huge cost and responsibility. I had this mental burden of always excelling in what I do. I have to give my best in everything, not go clubbing or, sneak out of the hostels like my friends used to do. I still don't know where the roads from my college leads or which is the most happening place in the city where I did my master's or anything for that matter. I literally spent all the 2 years inside the college campus because I was too scared, and that chains of added burden of responsibility always tied my legs. But I was still happy because I was doing what I really wanted to do. I was also a hopeless romantic at heart, spreading those flower petals all along the way, those smiles, cuddles, hugs, morning kisses, surprises, those love letters and everything. I wanted them all, and I was also capable of doing that for my partner as well. I was eagerly waiting when I would be able to experience all these with my partner. Actually, I also tried doing some of these things after my marriage, like writing notes and hiding it in his lunch boxes, putting small sticky notes on the bathroom mirrors. In the era of emails and social media, I still liked romanticizing, those handwritten notes and letters, celebrating even if he gets like a small appreciation in job, or cheer him up by doing those small gestures, making heart shapes with ketchup on sandwiches, those kind of things. Yeah, I did that all. But he never had time to acknowledge it or even read my poems and letters. To the max, he would just smile or if I insisted enough. But I used to feel content even in that, assuming he might be introvert for a very long time actually. I was very happy and satisfied as a person in the start, I suppose. I loved celebrating small things in life. I'm very enthusiastic as a person. I love being excited about everything, big or small. People around me can vouch for it that I can just find my own light and just be happy about it. And also now that I think, I knew everything came with so much struggle, like the basic thing of pursuing higher studies or, marrying after so many rejections or insecurities of being a fat person or so much societal restrictions around, that I was more into the idea that, it's going to take a little time, but that things will eventually fall in place. And this is the very start of my marriage I'm talking about, few days, weeks or months. After 2 months of marriage, we started living 100 kilometers away from his parents' house because of our jobs, and our schedule was very well defined. So every Friday night, I used to drive him to his parents' house and stay the weekend there, and every Monday morning, we used to come back to this new place to spend the remaining 4 nights of the week. And his parents kept visiting us on weekdays every now and then. Weekdays would just fly by because of work, and I used to desperately wait for weekends, making those small notes to what I want to talk to him or what do I need to tell him, only to realize he used to either fall asleep during the drive back or he was just gone for the entire day on weekends, leaving me with his ever nagging parents and their household chores. Funny enough, there was no house helps on weekends at his parents' place, so I ended up doing the laundry, cooking, cleaning, grocery, and everything when I used to be in my in-laws' place. I had to even cook dinner after reaching on Friday nights, despite a hectic day of work, despite the tiring drive, despite being super hungry, and despite it being late at night, without a complaint, and only then everyone could have their meals. It was strange. But the more painful thing was, when we used to return on Monday mornings, I was handed a plastic bag by my mother-in-law every single week with just 8 potatoes, 4 onions, and 3 green chilies to cook for the weekdays, as her son only ate potatoes. The pulses she gave was all infused with small pests, and I didn't have a say in it at all. In fact, I was told to adopt to what his son likes and change my eating preferences to match his, because that's what a good wife does. I remember when I was unmarried, I used to often joke with my own mother, asking her if she even remembers her favorite vegetables, because everything she did was only for my dad or us. And she used to tell me, I like what my kids like to eat. I used to find it bizarre how women just change themselves after marriage and do everything as per their families. They would eat what their husband or kids or in-laws like, cook as per their family's preferences, and somewhere lose their own choices. But I didn't realize that doing so was still what my mother chose to do. And here I was, a woman of this generation, not choosing, but forced to change my preferences. And there's a huge difference. My ex-husband had this perception of what his wife should look like. He didn't like me speaking much, or dance, or sing, or do anything I like apart from my office and household chores. He often complained of my energy being too much and unbearable after a long, hectic day of work. He used to leave early, come home late, and spend maximum time on sofa. Later, when he used to come to the bedroom, he liked surfing his phone and demanded his me time and then wanted to talk. Reason? He had to talk all day in office, so he wanted some peace at home. He used to come home, check my phone records, look at the house, and always kept a tab on me. I had to call my mother-in-law 2 times a day, stating she's the head of the family and nothing can be done without her permission, and she should have the knowledge of what I'm doing, where I'm doing, whom am I talking to, like everything. The calculation was simple. Don't talk to him, don't ask, don't object, give him food on time, prepare his things the way he likes, and he would be calm. The minute you question anything, you will then see the wreath of his anger. After a few weeks, I received a call from him in my office that he wanted to go out for dinner. A few of his friends have been demanding a treat for the wedding, and he had finally gave in. He didn't seem very happy about the extra expenses, and I myself was quite surprised. Because in our culture, newlyweds are busy for at least a month, socializing, meeting extended family, friends for dinners and lunches. It was odd for me that no one in his family has invited us for the same. Like not a single person asked us to visit their home, which is very bizarre and awkward, but didn't seem a big deal for me then, assuming that their family might not be very social. I had a huge social circle, and I have not heard him talking about any of his friends, but I was happy and relieved to meet a few new people and learn about their lives. So after work on a Tuesday evening, we went to a very modest place to have some dinner joined by his friends. For someone who kept lecturing me about not having male friends after marriage, it was quite something to see him invite 3 of his female friends. However, at this point, I was just glad to meet them and chat with them, as this would be my first social outing after 2.5 months of marriage. So his college friend, we will call her Dhruti here for the purpose of anonymity, was around 5 months pregnant, and her husband worked somewhere abroad while she lived by herself in the city. And his other two friends were branch managers in the same company but for a different branch. We all were chatting casually. They started talking to me in English and I responded in English as well. All of a sudden, the conversation started getting intense when he started telling how miserable his life has become after marriage. He was laughing, giggling, smiling, something I've never seen him doing in the past. And I thought it's just, those small, light-hearted talks. They just get carried away with their friends and they would joke about their marriage. But then he started talking about how, loud I am. I'm over-enthusiastic, a chubby girl. He also referred to the incident how the mattress coil came out when I sat on the bed during our trip, and they all were laughing about it. Then he started with a long list of dislikes. It was like a never-ending list. How spoilt I am, how my parents have spoiled me with fine taste, how I always talk in English, how I act to be sophisticated, I don't know how to remove stains from clothes, how he has to teach me how to be a perfect daughter-in-law every day, how embarrassed he is because of me in front of everyone, and so on. I was so surprised at how meticulously he can make everything I do into a flaw of its own. Did he forget he married me because he wanted someone to have a good grasp over English language? Or was it my fault that he has never tasted any foreign cuisine? I was still attempting to do household chores, and all he was doing was making a mental list and now vomiting in front of people I have just met for the very first time in my life. My face fell and I started becoming very uncomfortable. And suddenly, his college friend Dhruti felt a kick from her unborn child and got super excited. In a blink of a second, she just grabbed his hand and placed it on her belly and asked him to feel it. I didn't have time to even feel awkward about it, but then she said, Gabru was kicking. Gabru? That name did ring a bell. So in the past, in one of our very lighter conversations after marriage, he kept insisting that whenever we would have kid, we would name him Gabru. And now I was sitting there with his college friend, calling her unborn child Gabru. So I was taken aback suddenly as if I've heard something wrong. But he saw the look on my face and immediately remarked, Oh, Dhruti had a huge crush on me during MBA days. Don't take her seriously. But I was very uncomfortable and started getting restless. Maybe I was doing 1 + 1 in my head. Now this Dhruti, she knew everything about him. When he went to office, like what time he's having his lunches. I mean, she does not even work in the same company as my ex-husband. How is she knowing everything? Turns out, she's the first call he makes every day when he leaves for work and the last call he makes before he returns home. I really thought I was overthinking. I thought I'm acting like a very possessive wife and that's not fair. But I still was very sad and embarrassed by the way he was speaking about me. Approximately an hour later, we just exchanged pleasantries and we just bid everyone goodbye. I gave everyone a very forced smile. We went to our car and he slammed the door so hard and he was raging in anger. Wait a minute. Should I not be the one who should be angry? After all, I was insulted. So why is he so angry? 5 minutes on the road and I asked him, why will he talk so badly about me to the people I don't even know? It's so unkind after everything I do for him. This is so hurtful. I said that, and the entire car after was just echoing with his screams. He accused me of showing off my attitude towards his best friends, whose names I have not even heard in the last 3 months. But yes, I was just showing off how educated I am. Or kept talking in English, making them feel so small. I defended. Are they not as educated as I am? What on earth are you talking about? They were talking to me in English. What do you want me to do? Not reply? Sit there? Just say nothing? I was still annoyed at him, and he drove. I asked him to slow down as he was driving so rough. He protested. That's why I don't let you meet people around me. You are just annoying and embarrassing, you fat chick. I was enraged now, and I yelled back. And what you did there, was that graceful? Does insulting your wife in front of others brings you civility? Now I saw him shaking in anger, and he accelerated more and called me names. His eyes were red and his foot on the accelerator. And what about your accent? Showing off. What a great accent you have. I was puzzled. I didn't even think in that direction. I have studied in English medium school, so my accent and the grasp on English is a little different from that of the people who have studied in regional language schools. But this comparison never ever popped up in 26 years of my life. I had no clue what he was talking about. But he continued how I embarrassed him in front of his friend, talked with an accent, just have knowledge about everything, giving them my queen-like attitude and whatnot. I looked at him and told him that he was being very unreasonable and was just talking nonsense. All he did was just bully me and demean me in front of his friends. He kept yelling how nothing has ever been taught to me and how shameless I am as a person. I had lost my temper at this time, and I commented, "Yes, sure, only people with shame like yourself would do what you did with Dhruti today. How come she knows everything about you and your life, that too real time? And how insensitive of you to give the name we decided for our baby to your college crush's baby? And now you have the audacity to yell at me." At this point of time, I saw his hands gripping the steering wheel tighter and he breathing very heavily with anger. He started slowing down, leapt in front of me, and opened the door of the car while the car was still in motion and asked me to just get out of the car, nudging me with his elbows. He then got the car to the halt in the middle of the highway, switched on the hazard light, came out of the car, walked towards my side, opened my door and dragged me out of the car. "How dare you speak a word about my friends? I love them more than anything. How dare you speak about Dhruti?" He was squeezing my wrist with so much pressure that I was having shooting pains at this point of time. I was blinded for a minute. I had no clue what was happening. It was 10 p.m., pitch dark, in October night. People actually can kick their wives out of the car? I thought he would just cool down after a minute, but he drove away. He literally left me there in the middle of the highway and drove away. Now there I was crying so badly that my eyes and nose, everything just fogged my face. I was continuously wiping my face from my dupatta, the traditional scarf we take on our clothes. With every headlight of the moving car that was piercing my eyes, I was searching for his car with the hope that the next one will be him actually returning to pick me up. It's a highway. I can't get a taxi or an auto rickshaw. I don't have my phone on me. It's still sitting in his car's coffee holder. I don't know what to do. I was just crying and crying, hiding my face in the dupatta, and then a car came to a halt near me. I don't know after how long, but at that time it did felt like ages. I quietly sat in the passenger's seat, and he drove super fast, warning me never to raise my voice in front of him or utter a word about his friends, or next time he will throw me out of the moving car. Looking back, I don't think I got scared of him or intimidated at that point of time. I just believe that I was dealing with a very, very short-tempered person and I need to find ways to deal with him or probably not make him angry. I just thought I needed to find a better solution to, control his anger or make him a more calmer person. It was between husband and wife, the first full-blown outburst, where this time he did not physically hit me, but he was acting out of his anger, probably without understanding what he's doing. That was my thought process then. Now I realize that this was such a false narrative that I was feeding my brain and heart to just escape the situation, rather than just pointing such red flags very early on. But one needs to understand, when you're married with an entire institution, you never think of that taboo word, divorce. You actually take those 7 vows around the holy fire, and then you promise to stick together in every condition, not just in this birth, but for 7 reincarnation of yours. No one marries thinking that it's gonna end in a divorce or a death or unhappy space. You do try to work everything out. Everybody around you is just feeding you with that adjustment narratives. And in my case, it's not even 3 months that has passed. So we need time to understand each other. And slowly and gradually, pieces will fit and you're gonna make that happy family picture. I just needed to be more patient. I was still madly in love with this person, as marriages are forever. I thought of changing my circumstances by adjusting. That night, he slept snoring away, and I was wide awake. I was still in shock of how life was looking. Does marriage really look like this behind those closed doors? The next day also, he wasn't talking to me in protest. But I had to prepare his tiffin, make his clothes, prepare dinner, everything, and I did everything to just cheer him up. Unsuccessful in doing so, we just went to bed. He instantly fell asleep and I was still wide awake. Partly because I was very upset with all the friction that was going on between us, and partly because I was still not used to the idea of an adult snoring in my ears. In the middle of the night, when I was still trying hard to get some sleep, he started mumbling something, and suddenly he screamed. He started screaming so loudly someone's name deep in his sleep that I got scared, and I started shaking him in an attempt to just wake him up. He finally woke up completely drenched in sweat, and the first thing he did was accuse me of waking him up. I told him he was screaming someone's name, but he flatly denied it and said that I was lying in an attempt to just talk to him. I still gave him some water and told him he was screaming someone's name in his sleep. We will call her Sheena for the purpose of anonymity. You were screaming Sheena in your sleep. Is everything okay? The minute he heard this name, he sprang up and sat. The color of his face completely faded away, and he now started looking here and there. It would be interesting to mention here that my actual nickname is Shona, which is very similar to the name he was screaming, Sheena. Now he held my hand in his hand, and his explanation was that he dreamt of a beautiful married life with me, and now there are so many problems between us because I don't want to adjust. So now in his dream, he is imagining our beautiful married life and was taking my name, Shona. He wasn't sure why I'm saying Sheena, but he was actually dreaming about a happy life with me. And that's why he was screaming Shona, which was me. Here I am, a well-educated, sorted girl, but madly in love with this person, my husband, for whom I have waited so long and have been trained to have a perfect marriage, who in the last 3 months have been hit twice, just yesterday have been humiliated in public, and then dragged out on a highway in the middle of wee hours of the night, who never have a say, is doing everything under the sun to make him happy and his family happy, driving every weekend to a place just to be their house helps, trying to adjust way more than she should, and now being accused of this unhappy nuptial. And there was another 10 minutes of manipulative lecture by him, which made me feel so bad about turning this beautiful self-made person who is now dreaming of a wonderful life together, suffering in a way that he screams my name in his sleep just with a hope. I felt so awful. I took his head on my lap and like a baby I cradled him and made him go to sleep, feeling disgusted about myself. Years later, I don't know when in my therapies, will I finally come to terms and maybe forgive myself of being manipulated by a man in so many different tangents of emotions. The next day was the 3rd month anniversary of our wedding. I remember asking him for $2 to get a small cake, and I tried to do some small celebration. He did cut the cake with half heart, telling me how disappointed he is at the moment in me, and all this is just a waste of money. He ate dinner and went straight to sleep, leaving me in the kitchen to wind up the mess. I stood there wondering, will I ever be able to make this man I love so much happy in life? This was still just the start. Come back to know the next chapter. Dancing in the Dark is written, recorded, edited, and produced by me, Sonali, in an attempt to empower and support victims of gender-based violence, domestic abuse, and intimate partner assaults. Thank you for listening.